theologically incorrect understandings. Now, so coming back to Dan's question, Jesus was not offering something that they could not do. Come to me and be saved. They could come to him and be saved prior to his death on the cross. And their believing in him implicitly involved all that he was, both then and in the future. Now, it's possible that you didn't say what you meant. Did you say something other than you meant, or is that what you meant and I addressed it?
Yes and no. Some of what I said came out right.
Okay. Okay. Now, no one can come to me unless it has been granted to him from the Father. The it is ambiguous. The text doesn't say what the it is. But the verse before says that there are some of you who do not believe. For this reason, I said. Okay. So, at a minimum, at a very minimum, we can clearly say that there's something God the Father must do in a person's life for them to come. And we know that one of the things God the Father must do is draw men, for no one comes unless the Father draws. Yes.
So you said he draws himself. He does give us free will.
I said, or Jesus said? The text says, no one can come to Jesus, verse 40, unless the Father draws him, right? Where do I have the wrong reference? Let's get the right references. Verse 44, thank you. We have all the right references. Okay, so Jesus says no one can come unless the Father draws him. Now, what your question was?
I'm trying to get, so if the Father will give the drawing this free will,
Define free will for me. What do you mean when you use the term?
being able to choose whether to accept Jesus, or does it have to do with that at all?
Well, I would assume it does, since you bring up the question.
I'm just asking because, in my mind, if we have a choice, it feels, or it seems like we take away that in a sense, just the Father, what he has.
So if we can come anytime we want, then we don't need the Father to draw us to come. And if we need the Father to draw us to come, then we can't come anytime we want. I think that's fairly logical inference from the text. So, which is it? Can we come anytime we want, or do we need the Father to draw us to come? Huh?
I'm trying to, from what I'm hearing you say, it sounds like it's talking about the irresistible grace.
Who's talking?
Chris.
Oh, Chris?
He's trying to refer to, if the Father draws you, does it take away your free will to accept that drawing, or
okay, well, these are good questions. These are the questions I want you to think about. Yes, that's good. I saw Ahmed's hand first.
Does the Father draw all men? Are we talking about providence here? Some men, I guess.
All right, that's the question. All men, some men, all men all the time, some men all the time, some men some of the time, all men some of the time.
You can God's providence with all men.
Providence you're not using the term right, sorry. Providence is God's superintendence of the world through secondary causes to maintain its
Right.
state. So that
But it's got grace as well.
grace, yeah, there we go.
As well.
Okay, how do we know that God's grace comes to all men? Where does it say that in the Bible? John 3:16 doesn't say anything about grace.
And
Titus 2 what? What about Titus 2? That's good enough. You got on the chapter. Verse 11 is the verse you want. For the grace of God for grace has the grace of God that brings salvation has appeared to all men. Okay, that's the grace of God that brings salvation has appeared to all men. Now, does that mean that all men always have grace? No, that's right.
but it's not some men, it's all men. Not
Yes,
all the time.
it has appeared to all men. Yes.
And I think the next slide, sorry,
Mm-hmm.
and it says, in whom will Jesus reign? Sorry. No one can come to me unless it has been granted to them from the Father. Does it talk about the soul? The soul of the person has been granted. Is that what they get to?
Well, that's the question. That's the question. Options include it can be, some people say it is faith. Some say it is permission. Some say it is the person.
Or the soul of the person.
Now, here's one thing that English is a little, the English, both the NASB and the King James, doesn't make this as clear as the Greek does. The word granted here is the exact same word didomi, that occurs in this verse right here. All the Father is giving, didomi, shall come to me. No one can come unless it has been granted, didomi, to him. So it doesn't seem, I don't think the person is a good option because that would mean that God gives the person to himself. Okay? So I think we can scratch that option. So that bumps us back to God giving faith to the person, or God giving permission, or maybe permission is the wrong word, maybe we should say ability to come. Yes? Okay. My major problem with that is the Bible doesn't talk about any inward or outward call. Okay. So those are non-biblical categories for trying to explain what's going on here. My goal is to explain what's going on in the text by using only biblical categories, if at all possible. Okay. Now, I think I'm going to let you stew on this a little.
Why is soul a possibility?
Well, he would be giving the soul of the person to the person. It wouldn't be any different than the person.
Yeah.
No one can come to me, Jesus, unless it, the soul, has been granted to him, the person.
No, him as in to Jesus.
No. Jesus refers to himself as me. He doesn't refer to himself as him.
Him as in capital. For Jesus knew from the beginning.
I'm talking about verse 65. No one can come to me unless it has been granted to him.
Granted him from the Father.
It's same thing. To him. Indirect object. All right. So I want you to feel the bite of these verses. And until you have felt the bite, you won't appreciate the answer. Okay? So on Monday, I will bring in the answer, and which I have sitting on my computer in my office right now. And we will explain how all of this works together. Okay? So that's it for today.